Hi guys. I'm going to say this flat out. If you want a positive video, this is not the video for you. Go on every other video on this channel, and I'm normally a pretty positive reviewer. It doesn't take me very much to like your movie. You have to have good writing, good acting, just a good overall story, and you're fine. And I'm normally pretty easygoing, and I'm just like, okay, this is great, awesome, I loved it. But sometimes I'm not, and this is one of those times. I will be reviewing the Chaos Walking movie, and I've been talking about my thoughts over this movie even before I actually watched this movie. I will say this flat out. I did not expect it. I expected it to be much worse. But I also expected it to be worse than the Percy Jackson movies. And if you know my thoughts over the Percy Jackson movies, um, the short was taken down because the creator of the sound they used took their video down. But I had to take it down. But I made a short not too long ago that said, "What is a movie that makes you angry?" And I said Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief. That is how much I hate this movie. And I was expecting worse than that, and it was not that bad. It was not that bad. It's better than the Percy Jackson movies, but it's also not good. It's not good. They make so many of the same mistakes the Percy Jackson movies made. But I don't know. I'm just going to jump right in. There will be spoilers, and if I don't recommend for you to watch this movie unless you're a really big Tom Holland, Daisy Ridley, or Mads Mikkelsen fan, and you think you need to watch every single thing they're a part of. Other than that, I don't recommend watching this movie. Some parts were really good. Some parts I'm not gonna lie, some parts I loved, but the parts that I did not love were done so bad that I am actually kind of angry. So, I'm going to move on from that. I will talk about the three things I think they did well. I liked the visual effects with the noise, and I think the noise was done well by the actors too. I like the acting, just overall. The acting was the best part of this movie, but also I really, really love Tom Holland, Daisy Ridley, and Mads Mikkelsen. I think they're amazing actors. I've not seen everything they're in, by any means. I wouldn't say I'm like a super duper mega fan of any of those three people, where I'm like, I need to watch everything they've ever been a part of. Everything I have watched that they're a part of has been really good, and they do a good job in. And I liked the scenery. Yeah, so their locations were really good. Those were the three parts I liked that stood out to me while I was watching the movie. Other than that, it was either okay or god awful. So, but that's already better than the Percy Jackson movies. Which is kind of sad. But let's move on. Let's talk about the one thing that angers me the most, and it is just not following the source material. I thought they would have learned from, I don't know, like Percy Jackson. I will talk about the Percy Jackson movies so much in this video because there's so many similarities. It's just one had better actors, and had some better things like with visual effects and things. I do think that the actors in the Percy Jackson movies are really good. It's just they were not meant for those characters, and you can only do so much as an actor when you're given a role that you're not going to be able to portray very well. So yeah, I feel like they did a much better job putting the characters where they fit for the ones that I think they did a good job casting. It's just I don't like the way they cast it. But I'll get to that. The worst thing is just not following the source material. That is the worst thing about this movie. And I know the production was just really bad, and I guess originally they were following the source material really well. But I think they should have just stuck with that movie. Even if people said it was unreleasable, I think they just should have stuck with the movie that followed the source material rather than the one that was unplanned, quickly pulled together, and also they were running out of money. Their two stars were in other things, so why didn't they just stick with the one that's closer to the source material, even if they said it was unreleasable? If they did that, people that were interested in the movie when they originally came out with it would make more sense, and that people would be like, okay, I remember this movie when they announced it, but it came out 21 years after they announced it. Not 21, 11 years, I think. Sorry, my dates are way off, but I think was 11 years when they did this movie. And so you would have had that. It also wouldn't have been so much farther back from the dystopian craziness that was when the Hunger Games came out. It would have been late, but not as late. No dystopian movie has been doing well lately. It's 2022. It's 2022, guys. The Hunger Games came out a pretty long time ago, and that was basically when Mockingjay Part 2 came out. That was it. That people were just done with it, and it caused some franchises that were doing really well for the first two couple movies. Their third movie that came out did not do well, and then they didn't finish the series. So why did they do that? They should have just put it out. Even if it was crap, at least it would have been like the source material. And it probably would have been better. I don't know. And it also didn't help that their stars were in, I don't know, Infinity War and the Star Wars sequels, which are much more important than this crappy movie, but they already signed up, so they can't just be like, yep, I'm not doing it, see you later. What were they thinking? What were they thinking? And also, okay, I'm going to say this, I don't know if I've really said this. I love some of these actors. I think Tom Holland is amazing as Spider-Man. I think Daisy Ridley was amazing as Rey. I know that's an unpopular opinion, but I think she did a really, really good job. And then Mads Mikkelsen, everything I've seen him in, like Doctor Strange and then Rogue One, he did a really good job in. I really, really liked him. And I think they do great things with their characters, and Mads Mikkelsen really isn't a part of this. He's just kind of like thrown to the side. But I'm gonna get to the Jonas Brothers later, because this also has the issue of this. They're supposed to be children, not 28-year-olds. No one can tell me. Yes, I know Tom Holland looks young, and he looks like he's a teenager, but no one can tell me that Tom Holland looks like he's 13. I'm sorry, but he's not 13. I don't know how old he actually is, but I know he's older than 20. He's not 13. He's not. So why would you age up the characters for no reason? I don't know. I know people have always been like, you need to age up the characters. You need to age up the characters. But that always made no sense to me, because it had been proven that if you put in that extra work for making the characters the right age, it helps. It helps. I mean, Harry Potter is the most popular franchise, and many other people that have aged up the characters for things that it didn't make sense for. Percy Jackson. I will not stop talking for Percy Jackson ever. I will never. It doesn't work. People hate those movies. People hate those movies so much, and they're having to make a new they're having to make a new TV show because people hate it so much. Chaos Walking is not popular enough that I think it'll ever get a new TV show or a new franchise of movies, but like, it's not working in the past, so why are you doing it? Why are you doing it? I thought people would learn from their mistakes, but I guess Hollywood doesn't want to do that. And although, yeah, the source material is not the same at all, they're basically just different characters and they're in a different plot line. And occasionally they'll be going on the right track and be like, oh, okay, this is a coherent story like the books. And then they'll go do something stupid again. But that's not even the worst part. And it's not like I'm asking for a word by word the same exact thing. It's just I would like for some parts of the books to be in there. And although it's better than Percy Jackson, much better than Percy Jackson, where there are actual parts and they didn't completely change characters, like Grover is a ladies' man in the movies, where he's a shy introvert in the books. There wasn't any of that, but I do wish it was more like the story. And that's one of the reasons I think it's better than Percy Jackson. But the worst part of this for me had to be the directing. And although this is why I think they should have just put out the crappy version that said it was unreleasable. I think they should have done that because the way that they did it, I have listened to the director talk about the deleted scenes and different parts of making the movies just because I was interested before I watched the movies, so I spent a lot of time looking stuff up on YouTube and all that stuff of people had posted from the DVD. And he's just like, oh yeah, we wrote this scene and we wrote it and gave it to the actors 5 minutes before we shot it. That is insane. How are you supposed to make a coherent story with only writing it 5 minutes before you shoot? How? How did they think that was a good idea? It makes the story not make sense. And sometimes it made a little bit of sense, but then something else would contradict that, and you'd be like, wait, which one is true? Did they lie to us and they didn't acknowledge it? Wait, what's going on here? Nothing quite made coherent sense in this movie. And although okay, I'm not going to. I don't think Doug Liman is a bad director by any means. He's made good movies in the past. He has. But I don't think a movie like Chaos Walking was a good movie for him. Because from what I've heard from my research that I've done about him, he does this for multiple movies he's involved with. And that's great. If that's what works for you, get a project that works for. Where you write, where it's a little crazy, or it doesn't need to make coherent sense. That would be great. That would be awesome. It would make it, like, it would be a little twisted, or, like, just a little eerie or something like that. Or if that was a point, that would be great. But it was not the point. The thing about Chaos Walking is everything needs to happen or else the story doesn't make sense. If something doesn't happen with Todd, if, like... Okay, this is one thing that really angered me. I'll just go into this. If Ben didn't give Todd the knife, it would not have mattered to Todd as much. If you gave it to the mayor and had the mayor give Todd the knife, he doesn't like the mayor. The big thing is, he's like, he thinks I'm a man. But what are you thinking? What are you thinking? And you can tell that someone in that storyboard room has read the books. Because occasionally they would have things like, I'm the circle and the circle is me from other books. And occasionally you would have some parts that were like the books, like the diary. But they changed parts to that too. It was just the diary is there. But with how they did it, it doesn't make a coherent story, which really hurts the movie. Nick Jonas. I don't know. I was expecting him to be much worse in this movie. to be completely honest. Although I don't think this was good casting by any means. And I don't know how he got casted, especially because he's supposed to be 12, but that's beside the point. It, he's supposed to be like a really scary person. He's supposed to be kind of full of himself, and in this he's just like, I want my dad to like me. And although you got that, he does not seem menacing at all. If they ended up making a second movie, they're not going to make a second movie, but if they ever did, it would not be as surprising with how JV turns out to be in the Ask You the Answer, where Todd and JV become best friends. That would not make any sense at all, because he wasn't that bad. He was kind of not nice occasionally, but it didn't really affect anything, and they would change things so much. The big thing is just they changed things, and the way they directed it did not make any sense. And like I said, I really liked the acting, and I really liked the visual effects and the scenery, but just how it was written, the overall story, and how in the characters and how they were written just doesn't make sense. Without a good story, you're not going to have a good movie, even with the good effects and good, like, look at us, we got cool actors. That's not, if you don't have a good story, that's not gonna help. So they needed a director that understood the story of Chaos Walking. They needed a director that understood the story of Chaos Walking and stuck with the story of Chaos Walking. When things got hard, I feel like they originally wanted to stick with that, and then when things got hard, they're like, oh yeah, we can't stick with that anymore because this is too hard. No, the story of Chaos Walking is a very intricate, hard story to tell, but if you tell that story well, this movie would have done so much better. You have stars like Tom Holland and Daisy Ridley that are all over right now in Hollywood and are doing amazing things and are really well known. I mean, you have Spider-Man right there, and you're going to put him in a movie that I don't think he should have been cast as. But if you're going to cast Spider-Man in your movie, use Spider-Man in a good way. You have to do that, or else what's the point of casting Spider-Man in the first place? I feel like I've told you enough. I don't really want to rant about this anymore. But like I said, there were really good parts about this movie, but without a good story and without a director that understands the story and follows through even when things get hard, it's not going to be a good story. It's incoherent, and some parts just don't make sense because they didn't follow the original story of the books. So I'm not very happy with this movie, as you can tell. But if you enjoy this movie, I'm so happy you enjoy this. I'm so happy you can enjoy something I don't. I don't plan on ever watching this movie ever again. But, some things just aren't for me, and I can understand that. So thank you so much for watching this video if you are this far in. And I'm sorry this was not as positive of a video as I normally try to make, but hopefully you still had a good time with this, and hopefully you understand more of my thoughts on Chaos Walking. If you are wanting to watch Chaos Walking, please go watch it. Don't take my opinion as for what it is, because I know people that love this movie, and I'm so happy that they love this movie. I can't, because I know how good this could have been if they had a better script and a director that understood the storyline much more. And although I don't want to hate on Doug Liman at all, I think he's a wonderful director, just in the right project. And I don't think Chaos Walking was the project for that. And I think he could have done amazing things with this project if he just did it a little bit differently. But Chaos Walking is not a story that you can just throw things together 5 minutes before you shoot, because everything in Chaos Walking, every single part of it, is such an important part to where the story ends and to where these characters learn from their mistakes, and where just the end of Monsters and Men is such an impactful end. And for a movie like this, I don't know if they would have been able to do it justice, or if it would have just been another movie like, the Percy Jackson movies that ended halfway through, if they ended up making a second movie, because they didn't follow the source material and there was no way of making a coherent story while keep going. So there's that. Thank you so much for watching this. I know I keep saying that, but thank you. This is a 20-minute video, so if you're still here, go subscribe if you want. I mean, you're here, so why not? And if you want a video like this, go watch my season 2 episodes. Probably like 3 through the end, because the first 2 I didn't think it was too bad, but after the 3rd or 4th I got sick of it. Go watch those episodes, because I hate the second season of High School Musical, the musical series, with a strong burning passion. So, there's that. I hope you have a wonderful day. Please stay safe, and I love you 2000. Bye, guys.